Snow fell quietly over the old railway station, softening every edge of wood and iron. The lamps hanging from the platform roof glowed amber against the blue-gray evening, their light catching the drifting flakes like sparks frozen in time. The tracks stretched away into the distance, empty and silent, as if the world itself had paused to breathe. She was asleep on a wooden bench near the far end of the platform. Her knees were pulled to her chest, her arms wrapped tightly around them for warmth. She wore a deep red dress, heavy with beadwork and patterns that told stories older than the station itself. A woven shawl slipped from one shoulder, and snow had begun to settle in her dark hair, where feathers and small ornaments were braided carefully, with pride and meaning. Each slow breath she took sent a faint cloud into the cold air. Jonah stood several steps away, holding the reins of his horse. He had arrived just minutes earlier, riding in from the hills before the storm worsened. His coat was dusted white, his hat pulled low, his gloves stiff from the cold. He was a man used to silence, to long stretches of land and thought, but something about the sight before him stopped him completely. A woman alone. Asleep. In the dead of winter. He shifted his weight, careful not to let his boots scrape the wooden boards. His horse snorted softly, steam rising from its nostrils. Jonah placed a steadying hand against the animal's neck and looked again at the woman. She didn't look drunk or careless. She looked exhausted, like someone who had walked too far with too much behind her. He cleared his throat gently. She stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, dark and alert despite the heaviness of sleep. For a moment, she didn't move, simply watched him, measuring him the way someone who had learned caution early always did. Jonah lifted one hand slightly, palm open, showing he meant no harm. "I didn't mean to wake you," he said. His voice was low, calm. It's getting colder." She glanced around, taking in the empty platform, the falling snow, the horse, the man. Her gaze returned to him, steady now. "I was waiting for a train," she said. "It never came." "They don't run this late anymore," Jonah replied. "Not since the line closed west of here." She exhaled slowly, as if confirming something she already knew. "I see." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Snow crept quietly into the space between words. Jonah hesitated, then said it, the thought that had settled in his chest the moment he saw her. "Come home with me, if you want." Her eyes narrowed, not in fear, but in careful consideration. "I don't know you," she said. "No," he agreed. "You don't. And I won't pretend that means nothing. But my place is close. There's heat. Food. You can leave at first light. No obligation." She studied his face, the lines etched by wind and sun, the restraint in his posture, the way he stood slightly angled rather than blocking her path. A man who understood space. Boundaries. "What makes you offer?" she asked. Jonah looked past her for a moment, toward the tracks disappearing into snow. "Because I've been the one with nowhere to go," he said simply. "And because leaving someone out here tonight would sit wrong with me for the rest of my life." She was quiet for a long time. "My name is Ayana," she finally said. "Jonah," he replied. She stood, brushing snow from her dress. When she swayed slightly, Jonah instinctively stepped forward, but stopped himself, letting her regain balance on her own. That seemed to matter to her. She nodded once. "Just for the night," she said. "At dawn, I go my way." "Of course." The ride was slow and careful. Ayana sat behind him on the horse, keeping a respectful distance, her hands lightly gripping the saddle rather than his coat. The world around them was hushed, the snow absorbing every sound. Lantern light faded behind them, replaced by moonlight on open land. Jonah's cabin was small, tucked against a line of trees for shelter from the wind. Smoke rose from the chimney as he stoked the fire. Inside, the warmth wrapped around them immediately. Ayana relaxed without realizing it, her shoulders lowering as the cold released its grip. He gave her dry clothes, turned his back while she changed, and set soup on the stove. They ate in near silence, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind of quiet that comes when two people understand that conversation should be earned, not forced. Later, by the fire, Ayana spoke. My people live near the river, she said. Far from here. I went to find work. I stayed longer than I should have. Winter came faster than expected. Jonah nodded. It does that. She looked at him then, really looked. You don't ask many questions. I figure you'll tell me what matters, he said. Ayana smiled faintly. You're different from most men I meet. Most men are loud, Jonah said. I never saw the use. She laughed quietly at that, the sound warm and brief. When morning came, the storm had passed. Sunlight glinted off untouched snow, turning the world bright and sharp. Ayana stepped outside, breathing deeply, as if filling herself with resolve. Jonah brought the horse around. I'll head east from here, she said. There's a trading post. From there, I can find my way. He nodded. If you ever pass through again. I might, she interrupted gently. Or I might not. But I will remember this. She reached into her braid and removed a small feather, placing it in his hand. For kindness given freely, she said. That matters where I come from. Jonah closed his fingers around it, feeling its lightness. So does choice, he replied. They parted without promises. Years later, travelers would sometimes speak of a woman who sang songs by the river, songs of snow, lantern light, and a man who offered shelter without demand. And Jonah, whenever winter fell heavy and quiet, would think of a night when doing the right thing changed nothing and everything at once. Not love. Not destiny. Just humanity. Offered, accepted, and respected.